Once again, it is the Field of 68 Best Bets podcast. My name is Rob Dauster. That other guy you see on the screen, that is Jeffrey Goodman. We are here to kind of talk you through all of tonight's big games. There's only one of them, really, and talk through a little bit of what happened last night. So, Jeff, let me tee you up and start you off with this because I know that you're a very big Xavier fan, even though they don't have your boy Chris Mack coaching anymore. I know that you are a Xavier fanboy, so talk me through the Musketeers. They just beat up on Oklahoma in a good old-fashioned – I think you can call that a good old-fashioned ass-kicking, right?
Ass whooping, Rob. Not ass-kicking, ass whooping. It was, though. It was. I mean, they dominated that game. Second half, they ran away from them. And this is a team I think it's an important year for Travis Steele, right? It's year 3. They weren't going to get in the tournament probably last year. They didn't get in his first year. So this is a big year for him, and to start out here 7-0 with a win against Cincinnati in the crosstown shootout, and now beating Oklahoma as badly as they did, really good start. They don't even have Ben Stanley, who's an absolute beast, an undersized post player who isn't eligible yet from Hampton, but I think next week on the 16th, I think everybody's going to be eligible that's in limbo. The Division I Council is going to vote, and I think everybody who's denied or in limbo will be cleared. But Zach Fremantle, man, I love Zach Fremantle. Absolutely love him. Saw him last year here down in Charleston. They weren't great as a team down here, but he was terrific. And they just have Scruggs and Fremantle that are tough as shit. And then you surround them with shooters this year. You know, they've actually got some guys that can make shots. Kiki Tandy is capable, and they've got some other guys. Certainly, they're older. Jason Carter, some of their other guys. So I like Xavier. I think they're a tournament team this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think they need to be if Travis Steele's going to kind of live up to that reputation of the Xavier coaching pipeline. It's a little bit surprising to me that they are as good as they are. I didn't think that they'd be able to recover from the loss of Najee Marshall. I thought that he was one of the more underrated players in college basketball last season, just in terms of his shot creation, what he kind of provided as a defender. You talk about toughness, and that kid had it in spades. So if Travis Steele is able to get this team to the NCAA tournament, I think that's a pretty impressive coaching performance. I did not see it coming from him. I think I had them 8th in the Big East, maybe 7th.
They may be, but this win against Oklahoma, I think Oklahoma is probably a tournament team. Lon Kruger generally is. I mean, generally he's going to coach him up to get him there. So, but again, I think Ben Stanley and Fremantle and Nate Johnson was really good last night too. So Scruggs, Fremantle, Nate Johnson, they've got a lot of guys this year. They've just got a lot of good players. Do they have that star? Maybe not, but Scruggs is a senior who's just tough as shit, period. And so is Fremantle.
Can we talk about your boy, Scottie Barnes?
Tough as shit. That's what Scottie Barnes is.
We got to get you some new adjectives, man.
I like that one. Why change it? No, Scottie Barnes is that guy that if he can get his shot right, and I think he will because he'll work at it, he's got everything else. Like, I love watching him just pass the ball. I got to say, like, that's the thing about him that has always blown me away more than anything else. But he does everything, right? He passes it, it rebounds, and he's fearless. And we saw that at the end of the game last night. I mean, he had a terrible game for the most part, invisible after the first few minutes. And he hits, the Euro step kind of high off the glass to win it. And that was a big win for Florida State and a tough loss for Indiana.
Yeah, the shooting, though, I think it's got so much further to go than I realized. Like, he might have the slowest release in the history of college basketball. And like, it's so weird. Like, he comes to this stop and he'll be shooting like little 8-foot jumpers, and he's shooting set shots. Like he's an 80-year-old man just kind of trying to flick it up there. And it's like, you're 6'7", you have that wingspan, you have that athleticism. Like, learn how to shoot, bro. Come on.
He's got an old school game. I don't know who he reminds me of, but he definitely is a guy you could put back in like the 80s and say, like, all right, go to it now. And he's just got everything to him that shit to him. But again, listen, I think it was a tougher loss for Indiana than it was a more important win for Florida State. I think Florida State's going to be fine. Indiana, they had a couple pretty good wins, right? Providence, Stanford, I think Providence, Stanford, and they could have used that one, and they had opportunities. They had plenty of opportunities.
Yeah, I'm not. That's one of those games though where both of those teams looked like top 25 teams to me, and I'm kind of in on this Indiana team being real good. Now it's going to depend on the shot making that they have. Like everyone on the planet knows how good Trace Jackson Davis is. You know, you got an All-American big, you got an All-American big. The problem is, I think that if you can't really space the floor, how much can you actually get him the ball? You're going to make him really have to work his ass off to score, and like that. Going back to Iowa and kind of the conversation we had yesterday, part of what makes that offense so effective and Luka Garza so dangerous is like if you double him, you're going to give up a wide open three to a great 3-point shooter.
Yeah, Indiana doesn't have that.
And you have to double Luka. And Trace Jackson Davis is kind of – I don't think he's quite as good in the post as Luka Garza is, but he's a guy that you probably want to send help to if you're letting him go one-on-one against an average big man. Totally. And you can do it off of Indiana shooters and not really feel all that concerned about it. Speaking of Indiana, do you know what is in the state of Indiana? Home field apparel. Home field apparel is
farms.
A lot of farms. But also Home Field Apparel. They are an independently owned and officially licensed collegiate apparel company. I love what they do. They've partnered with us at the start of this podcast network, Jeff. And just real quick for people that don't know, what they do is they go out and they mine all of the old school and throwback logos of your favorite teams and universities. They repurpose them. They turn them into awesome T-shirts. They turn them into awesome hoodies, any kind of gear that you could possibly want, they have. So if you go to homefieldapparel.com and use the promo code FIELD68, you get 20% off your first purchase. All right, let's talk about tonight's games. Jeffrey, the big game of the night is your San Diego State Aztecs against your Arizona State Sun Devils. And I really don't know where you are going to land on this. Like, Bobby Hurley might be your favorite coach in the country. San Diego is your favorite city on the planet. Yeah. So this is tough for you, man. This is like the Jeff Goodman Super Bowl.
I don't know if Marcus Bagley is going to play, which I think does affect Arizona State, whether or not he does.
Oh, it does. It does, and I have some info on that. The latest, just for people that are listening, is Marcus Bagley was listed as doubtful for the game, whatever that means. That like this is not like the NFL. It's not.
I can find out. Right.
Those injury standings are kind of whatever, but I'm to play. He hurt his. I believe it was a cane. Everyone thought he tore his Achilles against Cal, and it turns out it was just a calf strain.
It looked bad.
It looked bad. It was not as bad, but it's one of those things. Like we saw Kevin Durant strain his calf, and that led to a torn Achilles when he came back on the floor. So if I was advising Marcus Bagley, I would tell him to kind of take his time with it. No one cares about a game against San Diego State in the middle of a pandemic. It's really not that important.
So you taking the 4? If you're San Diego State?
Oh, I'm happy. As soon as the line came out at 4, I grabbed it. And this is why. So there's a website called Hoop Lens. I know you're not going to like this because you're really not a math guy. But what they give you is on-off data for teams across the country and kind of lineup data for players that are on the floor. With Marcus Bagley on the floor, Arizona State is averaging 1.18 points per possession for 146 possessions this season. That would rank them as one of the best offenses in college basketball and would kind of put them in like the top 5 offenses on basically like any college basketball season, right? Like that's pretty elite. Without him, they're averaging 0.87 points per possession for 82 possessions.
That sounds like a big disparity. I don't know. I mean, math, do I have a calculator? Maybe I can get out my calculator and try to figure out what the difference is between 1.1, whatever it was, and 0.87. Sounds like a lot.
To kind of put it into context, and a lot of this stuff has to do with who they're playing and the level of competition. But just in the broad scheme of things, in a 70-possession game, that would roughly lead to about a 20-point difference in your scoring output based off of those numbers. So Marcus Bagley on the floor has been a pretty big deal. Like he's their best shooter. He's a 6'8", 215-pound wing on a team that has a lot of little guards. He's been he's like the one guy that can kind of operate without having the ball in his hands. Like Josh Christopher kind of needs the rock to make something happen, right? Like Remy Martin, you need the ball in his hands. Alonzo Verge, you need the ball in his hands. Marcus Bagley, to me, is the guy that can kind of like space the floor and really impact a game without having to pound that thing till the ball is flat. So I'm assuming he's not going to play. I already fired a unit and a half on it last night as soon as that line came out. And just for context, even with the question marks about Bagley, KenPom has that line at San Diego State +3. So you're getting a little bit of value there based off of some projections. So there you go. Jeff, I gave you numbers. I gave you X's and O's analysis. We talked about players being out. Like, you can't even argue with that one.
And that's why I'm going with Arizona State. After all those numbers, you convinced me that I feel really good right now about going with Arizona State, period. And I'm told Marcus Bagley is probably more questionable than doubtful. So I don't know. I know that Bagley family are tough. I could see him playing in this game. How effective will he be? We don't know. But I have faith in Remy Martin and Josh Christopher, and I'm taking Arizona State in Tempe in this one.
More questionable than doubtful. He's playing. That dude's playing.
No, we don't know that yet. I don't know. No, I don't know that for sure.
That's what that sounded like to me.
I was told it's going to depend on warm-ups.
Yeah, all right. So, yeah, he's playing.
Ole Miss, the last Power 5 team to play tonight. And they got Jackson State, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're laying, 22? Something like that? I don't know. Here's the thing with Ole Miss. They were actually able to do some stuff during their quarantine. Okay? They're the last team. They're coming off of quarantine. But I interviewed Jarkel Joyner, was one of the 3 players that I talked to, and he was able to do some stuff. They were able to go in, at least do some things individually. So I'm going to take Ole Miss, even though they've been on a long layoff, given the 22, or I think it's 22, against Jackson State there.
Yeah, that's a complete stay away from me. Same reason I stayed away from Tennessee against Colorado the other night. I want no part of those first games. When one team has been kind of has been up and good. I want no part of that. There are 2 other
yesterday. I think you were 3-1 and I was 4-2 yesterday. So we did all right.
I was 2-2 because Eastern Illinois collapsed.
You won your other 3?
I don't know what happened with that one. No, I lost. Who did I lose? I won Richmond. We won Chicago State.
You won Richmond and you won.
Oh, that's right. So, yeah, you're right. 3-2. I had 2 losses yesterday.
Yeah.
Yep. I had 2 losses yesterday. All right. So, 2 of the lines that I like today. The first one.
Yep.
VMI Mercer.
Me too. Who you going with?
I like the over in that spot.
I like Mercer.
So, yeah, I mean, if you're going to go with someone, it's going to be Mercer. But what kind of scares me off is that the projections, all the sites that kind of have these projections are saying that VMI is a little bit better than what what they've kind of looked like this season. So, and what the numbers valuing them at. The line is, what is it, +4?
It is.
No, the line is +7 for VMI.
7.
Yeah, the line is +7, and the projections have them as like a 3 or 4 point underdog. So that worries me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I like the over in this spot because, one, Mercer's by Greg Gary, who was the mastermind behind Purdue's offense from the Isaac Haas era to the Carson Edwards era.
He's going to like that, the mastermind.
Yeah. Oh, I know. We've had long conversations about the offense that
about the mastermind.
Yeah. So Mercer wants to play fast. VMI is not running the same way that they ran under Duggar Balcom with Dan Earl coaching, but they'll still get out and run. Last year, they were top 25 in the country in tempo. In 2019, they were top 25. This year, they're top 75. So both teams will get out and run if they need to. KenPom has that total at 147. I'm sorry, KenPom has it, at 140. No, KenPom has it 150, and the total is at 147. Sorry, I'm confusing myself. I haven't had enough coffee yet today. So you got 3 points of value based off of what the KenPom projection is. So I like the over in that spot. And the reason why I say that is because I just don't see any way VMI is going to stop Mercer. I'm just not comfortable laying that many points for a road team
Greg Gary's done a good job building that thing up. I mean, with transfers, he got his nephew Jeff Gary, who's been really good. They've done a really good job. So I'll take Mercer in that one. My favorite pick of the day may be the big rivalry between South Dakota State and North Dakota State.
Oh, who do you have? Because I have this game written down too. Who do you got?
You got to take the points. In a rivalry like this, you got to take the points. 8.5. Like, I like that. I mean, I don't know if I love it, but I in a rivalry game and you're getting more than a handful of points, you take it. North Dakota State started out really slow this year, but Richmond's a really good coach. They'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with you. North Dakota State's going to slow that game down. They don't want to run. South Dakota State plays at a faster tempo. North Dakota State will slow it down, and I know they will slow it down because they slowed it down on the road against Creighton, and they slowed it down on the road against Kansas. And if you can slow it down against those two teams, you can slow it down against South Dakota State. And South Dakota State's really good, don't get me wrong. But when you're only going to play like 65 to 68 possessions, having those 8.5 points becomes much more valuable than if you're going to be playing – like, you know what I mean? Like if you're playing a game in the 60s, 8.5 points is different than if you're playing a game in the 80s. This game is going to be played in the 60s.
Hey, can we have like guests come into this? For 5 minutes on the best bet, because I might have a guest. I might be able to bring on a guest tomorrow for 5 minutes.
We can do it. We can do it
like a surprise guest, like once a week. Bring on somebody.
Yeah, we can do it. We can have this conversation when we're not streaming live. I think that's probably better.
People might want to hear if we're going to have a big surprise guest tomorrow potentially.
Okay. We'll have a big surprise guest, Goodman, and it'll probably be some some coach from like the MEAC or something.
Out the street here in Charleston.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So North Dakota State plus 8.5. The only thing I'll add is that where they're really struggling right now has been 3-point shooting, and the guys that are missing all those shots are the guys that the staff wants shooting those threes. Okay. So eventually those shots are going to go down. I mean, Dave Richmond is too good of a coach to keep telling guys that are bad shooters to shoot. So that's just kind of where I'm at with it. The only other two lines that were interesting to me that I'm not going to take are North Dakota plus 3.5 for the same reasons as we're taking North Dakota State. Rivalry game. It's actually kind of cool what they're doing at the Pentagon. So it's 3 straight days. North Dakota State, South Dakota State are just playing a round robin. They're all going to play each other, try to build out that. It should happen
in more geographical areas. Like it's logical. It makes sense. It's what really should have been done. You and I haven't talked about Kay's comments at all. But if you want to hear my take on those, listen to the podcast that I did with Robbie Hummel on the Field of 68 Network. What I will say is those crushing Coach K that he did this after a loss. He's been saying this for months now. On every ACC call, he has been telling everybody for now the last 4 months that he did not want to start college basketball until January. So this isn't because his team stinks. This has been something that he's felt strongly about for a long period of time now.
Counterpoint.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 months ago, he knew that his team stunk. You didn't think about that one.
I actually
4 months ago.
Good call.
4 months ago, you thought Duke was good. Coach K was like, "Nah, we suck." Like, I know what's coming, man. Well, let's stop
Coach
this thing.
Couldn't know because he wasn't even in the gym with him at that point. He wouldn't go in to work him out, so I don't think he even knew. Maybe that was part of it. Maybe he knew he wasn't going to have the time with this team, early on. But
I mean, here's the other part of it. It's Duke and it's Coach K. Like, the jokes are going to be flying as soon as this happens. Like,
no matter what.
It kind of is what it is, man. Like, you just have to accept it if you're a Duke fan or if you're Coach K. Like, this is just, as soon as this happens, just open yourself up to it, and it's going to happen. Like, he made salient points. He's not entirely wrong. I think that in every walk of life in the middle of the coronavirus era, reevaluating how we are doing things like on a daily basis has a lot of value and a lot of merit. And what he said was not wrong. Also, It's Coach K, and he's trying to duck out the season because he knows his team sucks. That's the truth. That you'll never convince me otherwise. So you got to be able to say both things and laugh about it. But it's sports, man. We got to be able to have some fun with this at some point. If you can't make fun of Duke, you can't make fun of Duke and Coach K for trying to duck out of a season. Like, what is the point of this, of everything that we're doing?
True. Very true. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. And Home Field Apparel. Make sure you check out the website and 20% off.
And if you're smart, follow me, bet on the Aztecs, take the points. And if you're feeling frisky, jump on that money line. Goodman, happy betting, man. Good luck. I hope you get some winners.
Arizona State.